Welcome into Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. Post-game show, the Texans win 30-16 in Jacksonville, beating the Jaguars for 8 consecutive games. It was Davis Mills' first win as the rookie quarterback for the Houston Texans. He threw 2 touchdown passes, both to Brandon Cooks, who had over 100 yards receiving. Lots to get into, including a kickoff return for a touchdown by Tremon Smith, which hadn't been done since Jacoby Jones did it back in 2009. It was a big day for the Texans. They had 9 players out on the COVID reserve list, and yet they still managed to find a way to win. Drew,
yeah, it's wild. They didn't have their best pass rusher. They didn't have their 2 best linebackers. They didn't have their best cornerback. Their best safety was not there. They had their 2 starting guards on offense out, and they still managed to win by double digits. They still put up 30 points. This is still the Jacksonville Jaguars. This says a lot about them, too. Boy, you mentioned 8 straight. And if you go back to the very last game of the 2010 season, the Texans have won every single game in that span since then, except for the 2 in 13 and the 2 in 2017. Otherwise, they've swept the Jags every single year. 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, and now 21. I mean, they just blew their doors off with a 14-point. I mean, they didn't blow their doors off, but when you look at it, it's a double-digit win. It looks like you blew the doors off. This was close until very late, but again, they jump out to a pretty big early lead, 14-3, and we're gonna have highlights a little bit later. We're gonna hear from head coach David Culley as well, from the quarterback Davis Mills, also from Brandon Cooks, an absolute Jaguars killer. He destroys them again today, and we'll have much more on that. And also we'll hear from a couple other guys as well.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks, 102 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. What a day for Cooks. I hope someone asks him about his touchdown celebration. He was definitely in the driver's seat today against the Jaguars, along with, I think it was Chris Conley and the passenger side, but 7 of 10, and he was really rolling in the first half. He got the first touchdown from Mills on the opening drive, and the Texans scored 14 points in the first quarter, which is not something you see too often. So Brandon Cooks absolutely having a monster day. This back-to-back weeks for him, having 100 yards receiving. But you know, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this defense as well, because Trevor Lawrence, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and James Robinson, a guy that the Texans really needed to slow down or stop. 18 carries for 75 yards. He did score the lone touchdown for
When you knew
the
he was going to get the ball, too. I mean, they said that on basically Thursday. He's our starting quarterback. We're going to play him as such. And they were able to get the early touchdown from him, but they were not able to capitalize and get a lot more out of him. It just wasn't enough. But James Robinson, he ran the ball effectively early, but I don't think they gave it to him enough today.
Yeah, they certainly didn't, and maybe that was a factor of them being behind. But how about the fact that with the secondary having 4 players out, Trevor Lawrence still wasn't able to find his receivers for a touchdown? I think that really spoke volumes about this Texans defense, because even if it is the Jaguars, the Texans were really shorthanded. They had a lot of guys. Jonathan Owens stepped in for them, and they had, Lonnie Johnson had that big play in the end zone defending the pass. So this Texans defense really stepped in. We're going to hear from head coach David Culley in just a few moments as the players are filing out of the locker room and getting ready to board the plane for one of their first wins on the road in a really long time, since week 11 against Tennessee. And here comes head coach David Culley with the post-game presser.
David, could you give us your general impressions of the game? And also, it was a 1-score game till the end of the first half when y'all scored with 21 seconds left. Talk about the overall game and that particular series at the end of the first half, please.
I thought offensively and defensively, to that point, that we were doing the things that we wanted to do. We were taking care of the ball on offense. We had some consistency. We made some throws. We had some runs that kept the pressure off of us when we did want to throw the ball. I thought defensively they did a nice job of keeping them out of the end zone there. They had the one drive there, but I thought their consistency is probably as good a consistent first half as we've had. Especially, I thought it was very important when we started this game that our offense get off to a good start. I know this team, Jacksonville, been going through some stuff, and obviously I know they were be kind of really up with all the changes and whatnot, and I thought it was important for us to get off to a fast start, and I thought we did that.
What about the end of the first half, those 21 seconds?
Well, I mean, that was a nice job of being able to, navigate that and use our timeouts and put us in position to get that. I thought, John, that was a big momentum changer for us to be able to get that field goal.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, David.
Hey, Aaron.
The impact of the special teams, what they did with Kaimi in the kicking game and Tremon's return. What did you see from what Frank Ross's guys did? And from your vantage point, what did you see on Tremon's return? Thank you.
We have been talking about, Aaron, all year long about scoring, not just on offense, which we hadn't done a bunch of, but scoring on defense and also scoring on special teams at some point during this year. And it was just nice to see. And Tremon he is so explosive back there, and he's been close before. And our special teams this week did a nice job of preparation from the standpoint of understanding that if we took care of our business and we blocked well and gave our returners, punt returner and kickoff returner, an opportunity to get through the hole there, that there's a chance to score. And they did a really nice job of that.
Brooks.
David, you had 5 starters out today on defense. What did you see from the replacements that are in there and how they played throughout this game?
Brooks, it's always in this league the next man up. I thought those guys all went in and did a good job. They did what we asked them to do. I don't know exactly how they played. Obviously, they played well enough, but I'm sure there were some things that we'd like to correct. But I tell you what, they went in and did a really nice job of filling in and doing what we needed to do to get the win today.
Mark.
Hey, David, if you were giving out game balls, would you have enough game balls to go around?
No, this whole team would get a game ball today. Hey, this whole organization would get a game ball today.
Aaron Reese.
I can't hear you, Aaron.
Hey, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
I got you.
This was another game where Davis got off to a hot start, but I think he was only like 6 of 15 in the second half. What was the difference for him today, first, second half?
Well, in the second half, he had a throw there that we needed to get back that put us in a tough situation there. But I tell you what he did do. He made the throws in the second half when we needed to make the throws. He got us in the end zone, which is what his job is in the second half. We had a couple of series right there where we didn't, we stalled a little bit. But I thought in the end, he did what we needed to do for us to win the football game and get a touchdown. And I was happy to see him do that.
Matt.
Hey, David, congratulations on the win. John had asked earlier about the end of the first half. You guys did a masterful job there. I'd like to know the thoughts, just how you've grown making decisions like that in certain situations, and also how satisfying was it to overcome everything that had gone on this week with not only you and then the extra emotion from the opponent to get this win on the road?
Well, Matt, the big thing was the focus. I thought our football team focused really, really good, extra focus on what we were doing and not what was happening in Jacksonville, because we know how that's a distraction. They kept hearing it all the time. They kept hearing it, but every time we got in the building, it was just about us. And again, as far as decision making, I'm growing as it goes. And, I got a lot of help upstairs, with Nick and Romeo. And, when those decisions come up, we go over a whole bunch of those things, with the game management meetings on every Saturday morning. And I just feel more comfortable doing those kind of things. And, we're growing as we go.
John.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
David, what do you think about the job your defense did for the second time this season against Trevor Lawrence?
Well, the thing that we wanted to make sure we did, John, was we didn't want him to get comfortable, because when he gets comfortable back there and he's got time to look and see what to do, he can make all the throws. And the big thing was going into this game, and it happened the first game. Obviously, it was his first game as an NFL starter, And this game, we knew that when he had been comfortable, a couple of wins that they had, he had made the throws, gotten him in the end zone, got a couple of wins for him. And the big thing was not to let him get comfortable. And I thought our defense did a nice job of showing him some things and changing the look and not letting him get comfortable.
Go ahead, John.
I just wanted to ask you one more thing about Mills. Early on, they blitzed, and it looked like not only did he get the ball out quicker on the blitz for completions, he hit that 33-yarder. Talk about his improvement against the blitz, please.
Well, we've been had by the blitz a few times this year, And we've spent a lot of time, Tim and our offensive staff spent a lot of time on knowing that people are going to do that, especially with a rookie quarterback. And he did a really nice job today. We knew when it was coming. We knew they were going to do it to him. We knew there was going to get pressure, especially in the second half. We knew they was going to put pressure on him. And he did a nice job of getting his hots, getting the ball to the guys that were hot on plays, and did a really, really good job of doing that. And John, when you hit those things when you're playing zero coverage, the only way you stop him from doing it is to get a completion. And he did a nice job of doing that.
Randy.
Hey, David.
Hey, Randy.
Congrats on the win. Just
Thank
to
you.
follow up, if you don't mind, just a little bit more on Mills, following up on what John asked, how he read the blitz today. But in general, with the reps he's now getting out there, what areas, what other areas are standing out to you that you're seeing progress out of him?
Other than the one bad throw today, his decision making. He's making quick decisions. He's not back there holding the ball. And when he is holding the ball, he's stepping up in the pocket and he's finding his checkdowns. And that's something that he wasn't doing as well earlier when he was playing. And we've made a conscious effort to make sure we get that ball out of his hands. And if he feels, there's a clock when that guy's back there on a drop back game. And when that clock goes off, that ball's got to get out of your hand. And, his clock is starting to tick a lot better now than it was earlier in the year.
Sarah.
Hey, David, when you look at what Rick Spurrier did, grinding out some yards, how much did that mean for you to just kind of be able to put the game away, and had a follow-up for you? Just ball control. Being able to keep the clock running and being able to do that. And I think, too, we need to set an example with our upfront people of being tough and physical. And the only way to do that, it's not about so much how many yards you get. It's the fact that you're going to do it. And obviously when you do that, our offensive line feels good about doing that. And when we're doing it and we're getting those yards, it just makes everything go for us, Aaron. And follow up on what Brooks was asking about, when you have guys that are making plays like Garrett Wallow, Jonathan Owen, and also Neville, what did you see from a couple of those guys in terms of filling in particular?
Well, the thing that I saw they did today, they did their job. They did what their coaches asked them to do. There wasn't a bunch of mistakes. The guys were right where they needed to be. They kept the ball in front of them. And basically when you do that and you use your eyes and you play the game the right way, good things happen. And I thought those guys are learning. The more time they're getting on the field, they're getting better and better at that. And it's helping us defensively be able to do that.
Sarah Barshop.
David, Brandon Cooks went through a period this season, in the middle of the season, where he was less productive than you guys are used to, in part because of the way the offense was struggling. What did you see from him and his growth during that time that leads to a game like he had today?
Well, Sarah, it goes back to you kind of answered the question a little bit earlier when you talked about our offense not being being consistent, and the fact that there's been games where he's had pretty good games and he's been involved, and then there's games where he hasn't been. And I think that's a product of our consistency on offense, not so much for him. He's been the same guy from the start to the finish. And, there obviously when he was making a lot of plays for us, people started trying to take him out of the game, and other guys had to come up and make plays. And, today we happened to put him in a situation, and that last play that we called on that touchdown, there was nobody going to touch that ball but him because of the confidence we have in him.
Brooks.
Titus Howard has been a guy that's been willing to move around as you guys need on the offensive line. How willing was he in this situation? What was that conversation like before this game? And how do you think he played there in the offensive line as a whole?
It looks like, Brooks, that he played pretty well. As far as him moving around, that guy would do whatever you want done. And as I mentioned earlier, he's gifted enough as an offensive lineman, skilled enough to play multi positions. And he's been nothing but just consistency for us and asking him to do what we want done. He has been team for us.
Mark, last one.
David, how big a weapon has Kaimi become?
Well, I tell you what, people ask me sometimes about, some of the kicks that we hadn't made and misses. Let me tell you something. He's our kicker. He's going to be our kicker. We have the utmost confidence in him. And basically, we're going to kick him until his leg can't kick anymore. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
That was head coach David Culley taking questions from the media after the 30-16 win in Jacksonville. Lots of questions about Davis Mills and his performance in his first career NFL win. And, I think David Culley said it best. The first half, Mills was hot. He definitely came out hot. He was, in fact, 13 of 15 for 104 yards and a touchdown in the first half. Had more incompletions in the second half, but he was off and running in the first half.
He was excellent in the first half, just like he was last week. And in the second half, yes, the completion percentage went down. But the big difference this week as opposed to last, and this week as opposed to basically every other loss this season for the Texans, is when they actually needed a big-time throw, he had a couple of them. He had the one that went down to Phillip Dorsett. It was a 3rd and 7 or 8. He gets about 20 yards and gets them into field goal position, and Ka'imi Fairbairn gets it to start that second half. Big points right there. And then at the end of the game, it's 3rd and long, and you need really just a first down more than anything just to burn the clock. So what's he do? He gets 43 yards and a touchdown from Cooks and ends it right there. He hadn't been doing that. He hadn't been making those throws. The Texans hadn't been coming up with those plays to kind of seal things off and finalize things. And yes, I know it's the Jaguars, but still, they got it done today. Those were key plays. He finishes 19 of 30, so he's better than 60%. He's got a 92.2 quarterback rating. He gets a 43-yarder and a 22-yarder to Cooks for the 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, and I think we're going to hear from the starting quarterback right now live from Jacksonville.
Yeah, felt very comfortable in the pocket. I thought our guys up front did a great job protecting all day. And we did well at communicating at their pressures and just making sure we were pointed correctly in protection. So I think we saw that well. And then, Brandon had a great day, obviously 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. Extremely consistent all year. And that's why he's very easy as a target to find, because he's going to be in the right spot at the right time.
Mark?
Davis, I have a follow-up as well. Davis, what were your emotions when Brandon caught that last catch and run for touchdown and you knew it was over, you had the win?
That was awesome. Kind of sealed the deal. That was the dagger. I felt like we started fast today and then kind of stalled out a little bit, kind of end second quarter, start of the third quarter. And then that kind of really just picked us back up and assured the win. And it was a great feeling.
What did it do for the team's morale to see Ka'imi kicking those field goals from all over the place?
It's awesome. He's extremely dependable. We know if we get ourselves in position like we did before halftime, and even last week versus Seattle, he's going to be able to go out there and make kicks, and we all trust him, and he's been doing a great job.
Thanks.
John?
Yes, Davis, could you please talk about your improvement today against the blitz and also the last 21 seconds of the first half when you used your timeouts and completed the passes to get that field goal?
Yeah, so I felt like all week we really emphasized seeing their pressure and seeing their whole defense in terms of picking up blitzes and protection. And I think they saw that we were getting to a check early in the game when I ended up actually taking a delay of game. So got to clean that up a little bit. But then we ended up getting a similar look in the second half, and that's when I hit Phil for that big conversion. I think it was 3rd down. So that was a really good play. So I thought we handled their pressure extremely well. And then can you repeat the second part of the question?
Yeah, the last 21 seconds of the first half, it was a 1-score game to that point. And how important was it the way you guys used your timeouts and got points?
That was awesome. I felt like we kind of bought back some momentum going into halftime, and our guys did a really good job of knowing the scenario in the game, knowing the situation. And we just moved the ball down the field, and our guys got down, and we were able to bang out a couple timeouts and get into field goal range. And like you guys said, Ka'imi came in clutch and made a field goal before halftime.
Brooks?
How is it to get your first win as a starter, man?
It's awesome. It's a really good feeling. Great feeling for the guys in the locker room that, obviously a win's way better than a loss. So we're ready to build on it.
Matt?
Hey, Davis, congratulations on the win. What was this like this week, and then seeing so many changes in your own roster with the COVID and then practice players coming up, and just if you could share with us your thoughts on the accomplishment of overcoming all that and winning a game on the road.
Yeah, I felt like our team fought through the adversity, really just that everyone's facing right now around the league with all the new COVID protocols and how the virus has affected everyone. I felt like we handled it very well. And I mean, we had a lot of guys step up and come in for their really first NFL games and played really well. And I mean, everyone was ready for the challenge.
John?
Davis, as we asked you this last week about going against Lawrence, and you said I think you said it was fun. It looked to be fun, and it could be the first of many times you guys play. Number one, what do you think about him as a quarterback, and how do you think about you getting that victory? I know it's against the defense, but still, everybody's going to play it up. Davis Mills beat Trevor Lawrence. How do you feel about that?
It's pretty cool. I mean, when it boils down, it's still a team game. But I mean, Trevor as a quarterback is extremely talented. He was able to go out there and make some plays and lead his team down the field in a lot of cases. But ultimately, I think it just falls back on our team. We had a really good team win today.
Last one for Aaron.
Hey, Davis, wanted to ask you about Rex Burkhead. I know he didn't have gaudy stats. In general, that hasn't been the case in the running game. But just as far as getting tough yards, what did you see from him after you handed it off? Thank you.
Rex is a fighter. We're willing. I mean, he's the guy when we need to drive down the field and trust someone with the balls in his hand. Rex is the guy, and he's able to do what's best for the team. And when we were having to drive the ball down in that 4-minute mode, trying to eat the clock, I mean, he was running hard. You could see him get up and come back to the huddle, just determined to go out and win that game. All right. Thanks, guys. Cool. Thanks.
There you have it, Davis Mills, after his first career NFL win and his 8th start for the Houston Texans. Some kind words about Rex Burkhead there today. Rex Burkhead, 16 carries for 41 yards. Not a lot of shattering of the scoreboard and the stats, but you know,
he didn't even practice with the team.
It's amazing
Wednesday.
considering that in Sunday's game against the
Yeah.
Seahawks, we didn't even think he was going to be playing, and he was out there and he was running hard, and they gave him the bulk of the carries. So a pretty great day for Davis Mills. All in all, 19 of 30, 209 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, a 92.2 passer rating. He did have the 1 interception late in the game.
Right.
The Jaguars converted that into a field goal. But other than that, a pretty clean game from Davis Mills. And it was raining. The conditions were not ideal.
Yeah. I mean, what's happened in the previous 7 starts? The Texans have lost, okay? So he wins 1. That's definitely a positive. Now, I think you're seeing growth from him. I think because he was able to make those 2 plays today in the second half, one that led to a field goal, one that was the touchdown pass, I think that's a definite sign of progress. And, you know, the Texans ended every quarter with a double-digit lead. Now, it became a 1-score game there in the middle and late fourth quarter, but they were able to hold on. They were able to get the score to push it back to a 14-point win. But I liked what I saw from Davis Mills. I mean, he's going to act that way in a post-game victory if the same way in a post-game loss. I saw no difference in terms of demeanor. I know he's happy, but on the inside, he's keeping it on the inside. That's who he is. He's a very calm guy. But there's still stuff he can do better. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he said so. David Culley has said so. David Culley wants quicker decision-making, better confidence, and so on and so forth. But I think you're seeing signs of incremental progress, and that's a good thing. You got 3 more games to go. He's playing better. You saw a nice game from the rookie Garrett Wallow, who was kind of the last of that rookie class to get into the action. He played a lot on special teams, but he had 11 tackles today. He had a sack. I mean, he was all over the place, and he was getting in on the action like the rest of the rookies from this 2021 draft class.
Yeah, we heard from David Culley. We heard from Davis Mills. We'll probably hear from some more players in a bit. But back to, there were a lot of questions about Davis Mills and how he has improved over the course of the season. Both David Culley and Davis Mills talked about his ability to pick up the blitz better, to be able to see the pressures. And Davis Mills said that was something they worked on in practice all week, being able to see the pressure that the Jaguars are bringing him. And he feels more comfortable in seeing those things. And the ball's coming out quicker. David Culley says the internal clock is working a little bit faster for Davis Mills, is able to get the ball out of his hands a little bit faster as well.
And it looks like they put him in a better position to succeed with some shorter stuff and quicker stuff to Brandon Cooks at times. I mean, you saw the touchdown, obviously, but there was another play earlier in the game where he found Cooks out to the flat, and Cooks was able to get some positive yardage and keep the chains moving, keep the drive live, keep the clock moving. So they helped him out in that regard. And gosh, it's nice having Brandon Cooks, isn't it?
I was going to say, you cannot undersell having Brandon Cooks on your team. Everyone calls him consistent, and and Davis Mills says he's always in the right place at the right time. And I think there's nothing more comforting to a rookie quarterback than to know where your receiver is going to be whenever you need him.
Look where he is now, 947 receiving yards on the season. You still got 3 games. So unless he falls off a cliff, he's going to crack the 1,000-yard mark for, the 6th time in however many seasons. And against the Jaguars, he has absolutely destroyed these guys. He came into the game averaging 22 yards per catch. So what's he do? His first touchdown is a 22-yard touchdown catch. He adds on the 43-yarder. He's got 701 receiving yards in his career against them in 6 career games, if you include the playoff game when he was a New England Patriot in that AFC title game. I mean, his worst game against the Jaguars came last year when he only had 3 catches for 83 yards and a score. That's still a very, very good game. So Brandon Cooks, just goes off again on Jacksonville.
He is actually our player of the game, unanimously. Brandon Cooks, 7 of 10 for 102 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 14.6 yards per catch. We talked about him so much in the pregame show and how much success he's had against the Jaguars in his career games there, even in the postseason with them. And he's only had 1 game under 100 yards receiving against the Jaguars.
And he's the player of the game, and he is unanimously. But it wasn't unanimous until he gets that second touchdown, because we were going to give it to Tremon Smith, a very deserving guy as well. He had the 98-yard kickoff return. First time, like you said, since Jacoby Jones did it against the Oakland Raiders back in 2009. He also, Tremon Smith, had a big tackle early in the second half on kickoff coverage, and it forced the Jaguars to start inside their own 15-yard line, that's a big win on kickoff return coverage if you do that. So Tremon Smith really provided what was ultimately the cushion today in this game. It's fun to see, and he would have won it had we not given it.
A little bit of jolt to the Texans, especially seeing a 98-yard kickoff return for touchdown. That really put a little pep in everyone's step. And then that Brandon Cooks fourth quarter touchdown. They talked about it in the press conferences. The offense did stall in the second half, which is something that's been an issue for the Texans all season. Third and fourth quarter couldn't quite get the ball down the field. Davis Mills described it as the dagger. In the Jaguars' hearts, getting that second touchdown to Brandon Cooks, 43 yards. It was just tremendous to be able to see.
It sure was. And you know what else we like seeing?
What else?
Highlights from a win. So let's check out some of the highlights today in this 30-16 triumph. Early on there was no score. This is the 22-yarder on 3rd and 1. Mills to Cooks puts the Texans on the board early, and the Archer is shooting his arrows, DP. That was fun to see, wasn't it?
That was fun to see. His first touchdown in a couple of weeks. I believe the Jets was the last touchdown he had. So Davis Mills loves seeing what he can get from Mr. Consistent there.
Yeah, and you see the route here. He gets a little bit of pushing and shoving, gets loose, and he's on into the end zone. 701 career receiving yards if you include extra points. And we get the
that's the Jaguars
field goal.
Field goal on their opening drive.
Kick a field goal to make it 7-3, and then a little bit later, look at this. This is beautiful. Tremon Smith, 98 yards to the house. Hadn't seen it in a long time, and that was the play right after that field goal that made it 7-3. So DP, he goes all the way. He's got a convoy, no penalties, gets in. There was a penalty, or not a penalty, but there was an injury on the play that sort of kept things going. They had to go to break before they came back and had Kaimi Fairbairn kick the extra point. But when you go up 14-3, it's easier, but Jags made it 14-10 when James Robinson bulls on in. Now, the Jags do win the rushing yardage battle today, but it's just not enough. So a little bit later, the defense getting in on the action. Chris Smith, he used to be a Jaguar DP.
Yep.
8-year veteran. He gets a sack there and has a nice celebration. I like that, don't you?
He was hungry for a sack. It was his first as a Texan. He got pulled up for today's game, especially with all the COVID injuries. So got one on Trevor Lawrence.
And I really like the celebration there. But, James Lofton pointed it out on the broadcast. Pretty good coverage today for some of these sacks. So that was a good one there by Chris Smith. And, hey, he had a 52-yarder. This was a 51-yarder a week after a 60-plus yarder. Jack Staville banging his head against the post. That was
That's all you can do. That's all you do.
20-10 at the half. And then Texans, they get a sack from Derek Rivers. Derek Rivers came up big. You didn't have Jonathan Grenard today, so it's 20-10. That forced a 4th down. And it was 20-10. I think this is the first of 2 big throws by Davis Mills in the second half. He finds Philip Dorsett on 3rd and long, gets 33 there. So it sets up what would become a Kaimi Fairbairn field goal, which is what you needed, because this pick, that's the one he wanted back. Davis Mills. Not a good throw, not a good decision according to David Culley, but the Texans are able to withstand that right there, DP.
Yeah, Tyson Campbell with the pick on the pass that was intended for Jordan Akins. They turned it into 3 points. And here he is.
This ends it, yeah. 3rd and 9.
Yeah, dagger.
You wanted to burn clock, and you burn the Jaguars in the process because the Cooks touchdown. what are we seeing here, DP? What's going on?
I hope someone asks Cooks about this. I love the celebration. Usually it's the Archer. Today they were driving. They were driving home. They're going to be flying home with a win here in a little bit. 30-16. We got our 1B player of the game now at the podium, Tremon Smith, 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Let's hear from him.
It's going to be up in their locker one day.
The announcers during the game brought up the fact that a couple of years ago you got caught from behind. Was that on your mind as you were? Did it flash into your mind as you were scoring?
Of course they brought it up. Everybody still brings it up. I think it's done for right now, though. I think they can leave it in the past. But yes, that's exactly when I broke through them last few tackles. I'm like, I can't get caught, so I keep looking back. And I got to stop doing that, too. I got to start looking at the Jumbotron. So if I stop looking back, I'll stop slowing down and won't have to worry about anybody catching me.
Aaron.
Hey, Tremon, I think it was Chris Moore and Tavier Thomas that were leading the interference for you. Is that right?
Yes.
What did you think about the blocks they threw?
They threw some great blocks. You know, all the guys. It started up front with Veezy. You know, he just elevated from practice squad. We had another guy, Driscoll, back there from quarterback to off returner. We got 53 straight in, and then we just did a good job. I trusted those guys 100%. I see them make their blocks in practice every day, and even if they did miss a couple in practice, I just still believed in them, and I just knew they'd come ready on game day.
My last one for you, just in terms of the whole special teams, the kicking game, you downing punts from Cameron Johnston and Kaimi making big kicks. What did you think about what you guys did on special teams overall, not just yourself?
Besides that one flag of 59, Eric Wilson playing hard, I know that happens. You know, it happens. He's playing hard. We didn't fault him for that. But besides that, I feel like we played the perfect game. And we won the special teams battle, and we won offensive, defensive battle, and that's why we came out victorious.
Brooks.
He came in on defense as well. I mean, with the secondary and the defense really needing help today, what was it like going in there, and how'd you feel like you guys did with the depth that stepped up today?
You know, that's always fun. Lonnie got his first start of the year at corner this year too. So I don't know. I stay ready throughout the week. You know, even if I'm the top reserve coming off for the 4th or the 5th corner coming off the bench, I just stay ready during the week. I practice like I'm starting, and I feel like that helps me a lot.
Last one for Cole.
Tremon, you've kind of seen in the past Garrett Wallow really step up on special teams. What did it mean for him to have the game that he did today?
Who'd you say again?
Garrett Wallow.
Garrett Wallow he's playing lights out right now. Definitely coming in as a rookie. You know, he had his first start today too with Kursky and Kamu out. He's learning his blocks each and every day. He's staying after practice. He's at practice early, and it's gonna pay off, and he's gonna be a great player for us on down the line.
Thanks, Tremon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Tremon Smith signed a contract extension just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's already paying off. 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Hadn't happened since 2009. We saw it on the broadcast when Jacoby Jones did it against the Oakland Raiders here at home. Tremon Smith, you saw the graphic there, 2 returns, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. He said that he gets brought up when he gets caught. What gets brought up a lot is how he got caught from behind the last time and nearly had one. But
yeah, but
we'll get into more of that. But first, we got our player of the game.
Guy who didn't get caught was Brandon Cooks. He's talking to the media now.
This week with Lewis Hamilton and Max, you know, with the safety car and letting Max pass and stealing that championship from Lewis Hamilton. I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan, so.
You got complicated on me. What did you think of what Davis Mills did today?
You know, I think it was great. You know, his first start, you being able to get that win, that's huge, especially on the road. You know, just got to be able to continue to build on that.
Aaron.
Hey, Brandon, you guys have been building chemistry all season. Do you feel like at this point you and Davis are in a good rhythm? It looks like he's able to find you and he's looking for you and you're catching the passes and doing what you got to do.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that's just him, you know, trusting his reads, you know, and just being able to watch film, you know, that extra time after practice, you know, together, just kind of continue to build. But at the end of the day, like I always tell him, trust his read, trust what he see. And it just happened today that, you know, we connected on a few.
Brandon, there haven't been a lot of wins this year, but you guys have swept the Jaguars. What did it mean for you to beat a team that the people expected to have a boost from firing their coach, but instead you guys get the win?
They came out and played a tough game. At the end of the day, I don't think the score really matched on what type of game it was. They did a great job stopping us, here and there and moving the ball. But, I think we just had to worry about ourselves, tune out the distraction of what's going on with everyone else, and just focus on, our building and trying to, head in the right direction.
Brooks?
What really, with the second half stuff, to break out through that? I mean, you guys have been finding those spots. How much leading up to that play was kind of working toward that? How did y'all kind of finally arrive at that?
I think first and foremost, doing a great job of running the ball. Once we got the third down, TK really trusting his play call, and Chris Conley and Farrell being able to make those huge blocks. I mean, all I genuinely had to do was run. So I give all the credit to those guys and TK with the play call.
Sarah?
Brandon, in the middle of the season, this offense struggled to find some consistency. What was your mindset during that time period, and what does it feel like to now be 45 yards away from another 1,000-yard season?
I think the biggest thing was just my mindset was always pushing through, continue to just show up to practice and try to get better, no matter how bad it looks. Sooner or later, if we keep just working hard, things will change, and we still got to have that mindset. We got 3 games to go, and let's see how good we can get down this next three-game stretch.
Brooks?
Brandon, we talked earlier this week about how you can sense your on-field kind of awareness from other teams. I mean, with that first touchdown you had, I mean, how much do you feel like that's kind of part of your game, again, showing that again?
I think that's just all you playing football and, trusting what I see. But at the end of the day, I think it's just playing football, honestly, and just being able to connect.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Brandon Cooks there after the big win, 2 touchdowns, and we got the answer to the question that I was searching for, that touchdown celebration. He's an F1 racing fan, so it was in honor of Lewis Hamilton.
I wonder if he watched that before that Netflix stuff came out. So, yeah. Anyways, we heard some questions earlier about Garrett Wallow, the rookie linebacker. He's meeting with the media right now.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting to be out there. First and foremost, all the credit goes to my teammates. Of course, none of that would be possible without them. And I think, we played really hard as a team, both sides of the ball. I'm very proud of that. And that was, gave us a chance to get a win today.
Hey, Garrett, as you got more playing time in recent weeks as well, did you start to grow in confidence and comfortability just as far as, hey, I'm playing a lot of snaps and I'm seeing things differently?
Well, I think a lot of the preparation has been put in since we first arrived here in OTAs, and just every day, just having that mindset, just getting better, learning the game better, becoming a student of the game better in any way that's possible. So I think that's definitely contributed for all of us to get to this point.
Brooks?
Yeah, yeah.
You're going with some, with that, could you take us through that sack you had, and what were that sack and the tackle for loss right immediately from Derek Rivers, that moment in the game, how much you were able trying to get the stop there?
Right. I think during that time, we had the Jags had caught a pick, so it was definitely a big time for us to make a huge defensive stop and set the tone to how the rest of the game was going. The defense, we came out there fired up, just ready to make a stop, just put our team in the best position, and I'm just glad we were able to get that done.
I'm just curious too. I mean, as y'all were traveling here, you knew how many people were, missing on the defense. What was it like the past couple of days and preparing for this, knowing that you guys were going to have to be in this situation? Like, how'd y'all interact with each other going into this?
Right. Well, actually, things were popping up each and every hour of the day, so you never really knew. But I think, guys were just having that mindset of just the next man up, and whatever happens, we have to go out there and just play to the high level of standard that we hold ourselves to as a defense and as a team. So I think that was huge, and I think I'm definitely excited to see all of us flying around there today, making plays.
And like you said, it was happening like every hour. Like, how are you getting your updates?
I think the word spreads around pretty quick, but at the end of the day, man, you just got to keep a positive mindset and just stay focused, and I think we did a good job as a team doing that.
Brandon?
Hey, Garrett, all of you rookies that at some point in the season have kind of had your moment and then for Davis. This was his first career win as a starter. How would you say you guys as a rookie class interact and how you guys are rooting for each other's success even in a trying season?
Most definitely. Since the first day that we came in, I think we all kind of bonded and leaned on each other because we all want each other to just be successful, each other do great. And a lot of that credit goes to the older guys on the team that's been showing us the way. The coaches has shown us how to, be in pros in the NFL and just be the best that we can for the team. So that's definitely been all that credit really goes to the older guys, but we definitely lean on each other, support each other, praise each other when success happens and lift each other up if anything bad happens. So we're definitely a really tight group and I appreciate those guys a lot.
Cole.
Garrett, really strong game from you, really strong game for the defenses overall. Moving into the last 3 games of the season, what personally are you going to try to work on, and what do you want to see from this defense and from special teams moving forward?
I just think as a defense and as a team as a whole, we just had to, just keep focusing on the small details, keep climbing, keep taking little steps forward each and every day. And if I think we do that, we'll be successful as a group. And that's the most important thing is being successful as a group. So I think, all together, just the small details will really get us to where we want to be.
Brandon.
Cole just asked you about special teams. I figured I'd ask you from wherever you were on the field, your vantage point, what did you think about Tremon's housing it on that?
Man, I was so hyped up. We've been trying to get one to the house for weeks. So just to see it happen, just to see the smile on Coach Ross's face and Coach Baker's face and all the guys on the unit, man, we've been working really hard at the practice for special team things, just on the small details. So just to see it all come together, man, it was very exciting, and hopefully we just keep that going forward.
All right, last one for Cole.
Garrett, Tremon was talking about you and just your work ethic, your overall attention to detail, your skills on special teams kind of translating over, and how he thinks that you're going to be a great player moving into the future. Just what does it mean to have the confidence from older guys who have been around kind of backing you and saying, what you're doing off the field and how it's translating onto the field?
Yeah, most definitely. I think I've leaned on a lot of the older guys since I've got here. They definitely helped me to become stronger mentally as a player and as a student of the game. I just plan, really just all the lessons that I've learned from those older guys. Hope I'm able to give that back to any young player that comes in the league for as long as I'm in the league. So they definitely play a huge part for me and my success. And a lot of that credit, really most of the credit goes to them.
Thanks, Garrett.
That was the rookie Garrett Wallow in his first start at linebacker, comes out with a win and a big day as well. A sack, a TFL, a quarterback hit, 11 tackles for Garrett Wallow. We've been hearing about him in the last few weeks, just about what he's able to do on special teams. Today he had to step in with Christian Kirksey and Kamu Grugier-Hill out on the reserve COVID list, and definitely a bright spot for the Texans.
Yeah, he was good on special teams throughout, like you mentioned, and then he started getting the PT over the last couple weeks and gets thrust into the starting role because of what went down. And he's somebody that showed he's not a liability out there today. And we had a question from Adam, one of the viewers, saying, did he earn himself a starting spot? I don't know about that yet. I mean, I think that's asking a lot when you've got Grugier-Hill, who's had the season he's had, as well as Kirksey, who's your captain and calls the plays. So I don't know that he's necessarily going to be in there as a starter. He could. I'm not saying he's not, but I think you're asking a little bit much in that regard as far as making him a starter. But he's clearly going to get a lot more playing time defensively, and he's somebody. Perhaps it's a building block moving forward defensively and for the rest of this team.
Yeah, you really don't know who's going to be on this team come next year, so you want him to see guys like that put as much good film as they can about themselves. And I don't think we've talked enough about special teams today and what they were able to do. I mean, Kaimi Fairbairn kicked 2 field goals over 50 yards.
Yeah.
He kicked a 61-yarder last week, and that final drive of the first half, David Culley was asked about it. We've talked about growth from all the players, but David Culley talked about the growth that he's had as a head coach in just the play calling and the clock, the time management. They had 21 seconds to move the ball down the field. Davis Mills hit a couple of guys for some big catches. Chris Conley there at the end to get them in field goal range, and then Kaimi lines up and kicks it, and they said it really gave them some momentum going into the second half.
Kaimi was huge, on those field goals, like you mentioned. Think about it. Special teams kind of changed the day in a lot of regards. especially on that fourth play of the entire game, or the fifth play of the entire game. Texans had gone 3 and out, looked miserable on offense to start the game. They got a punt. Cam Johnston booms it away, but there's a hands to the face. So the Texans have a new lease on life. Eric Murray drew the hands to the face. They have a 15-play drive. They score with Cooks. They burn up half the first quarter. They look really good. But on top of that, you got the kickoff return from Tremon Smith. He had a big tackle to push him back to the 14-yard line to start the second half. 3 of Cam Johnston's 4 punts downed inside the 20. One of them was down inside the 5. You had Desmond King with a 16-yard punt return. That was huge. Got him to midfield. And then the Jaguars had a kickoff go out of bounds, which is, almost a cardinal sin. And it was a big day all over the place, special teams-wise.
And one of the biggest plays of the day, the 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Let's take a look at that again. We can never get sick of seeing Tremon Smith field this kick from the 2-yard line and run it all the way back.
And DP, after the break, they kicked off to him again in the second half. They didn't boot it out of the end zone like they did the time or two after this one. And he had another really good return after that as well. Got him out to about the 35, 36, ran over a guy. He ran with violence, which you don't always see from a kickoff return guy. But look at that, a 60.5 yard average on kickoff returns. Pretty good right there. Pretty big day for Tremon Smith. What an absolute game-changing afternoon for that guy.
It's hard to believe he did not run track. We had him on Texans radio. I had a deep slant with him last week, and I found that so hard to believe. He's so fast. It looked like in the middle there he almost got tripped up, but he kept himself up on his feet, ran it all the way back for a touchdown. It's great to know that a guy like that's going to be here for the next year. In 2019, he played for 3 different teams. And so last year he was with the Colts, here he is with the Texans and doing some great things in the return game, which is something that the Texans have really struggled with in recent years.
It sure has. It sure has been a bugaboo for them. Punt returns, pretty good job again today, like we said, by Desmond King. And we got some other scores from around the NFL to keep an eye on today. I know a lot of you were watching. What did the Lions do? Because depending on who won this game against the Texans and Jaguars, or between the Texans and Jaguars, and who won the Lions game, there would be some draft spot implications. He's still got 3 games to go, but look at that, DP.
They pulled out a win. The Lions at home against the Cardinals. Shocker there, it seems. But yeah, now they've dropped 2 games along with the Jaguars, and the Texans obviously have won 3. And look at the Titans. They fall to the Steelers in a pretty close matchup in Pittsburgh. Of course, we saw that the Colts beat the Patriots on Saturday night. So we've got some other games ongoing.
One little note, too. Yeah. You saw the 31-24 win by the Dolphins over the Jets. Our guy Duke Johnson had a couple touchdowns, had 100 yards today. Big afternoon for former Houston Texan Duke Johnson. You see some of the afternoon games just getting going. It's a 3-0 Bengals lead in Denver.
A lot of games still ongoing. Then you got some games tonight, tomorrow night, Tuesday night. It's going to be a pretty wild week here in Week 15. A very long Week 15.
We heard some questions. One came in from Adam earlier about Garrett Wallow, but as we look at the AFC South, that loss by the Titans moves them to 9-5, and the Colts had a huge win the other night against the Patriots. They go to 8-6. How about that, DP? They beat the Patriots. They pounded New England, running the ball the way they did. They ran the ball the way New England did at Buffalo a week or so ago. That was remarkable.
It was a freakish game. There were a few big plays that really turned the tide of that game against the Patriots. And then you see the Texans there up 1 game over the Jaguars, who are tied with the Lions now for the number 1 pick overall. So I think a lot of people were watching that game for that. But I think for the Texans getting those 3 wins, it was big. They needed another win. Just to get some momentum going here in the final stretch of the season for these players.
You play to win the game. We've heard that famous quote by Herm Edwards way back when. Texans are playing to win. You can't tell anybody in the locker room, take this off. There's no tanking going on when that's happening. So they were going to have a happy ride back on the plane from Jacksonville, and it was a good effort. They all 3 phases of the game victorious today in Jacksonville.
That's right. And you know what? We'll be back tomorrow morning. David Culley will address the media once again once they arrive and look at the game film. We will have a pre-press conference show for you again tomorrow as we bring you David Culley live, getting asked questions from the local media. That's coming to you tomorrow morning. So we'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out HoustonTexans.com for all the coverage, the stories, the highlights, and more. That's going to do it for Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. Special thanks to Tyler Marcotte, who worked so hard on this show, and to all of you watching. Happy game day, and go Texans.
Well, it's finally here. I've been waiting all